So as Chantal said earlier, you're very, very welcome to Revive. And what a wonderful example we have tonight in Sister Clare. We heard the little summary there that Chantal gave us of Sister Clare's life, some of the main events, some of the main things that influenced her and helped her, guided her along the way in becoming the great lady that she was, and I think great saint one day. One day, obviously, there's a little bit of a process of beatification, canonization to go through first, which requires a couple of miracles. Once they're sorted, we'll actually have a new Irish saint, which I think will be pretty amazing, and we'll see where they'll actually. She's buried up in it's the state grave, the city graveyard there, so more than likely they'll move her into either the cathedral or the Long Tower or someplace worthy anyway, so we will be able to go up and visit her in a church someday eventually. Anyway, that's all ahead of us. My nieces up in Dublin love baking, and when they bake, it involves most of the kitchen and most of the house actually, in that you'll find eggshells and flour and raisins for days afterwards everywhere, and it's great. Because as my sister there, Norma, is carefully guiding everything, Katie, when she was smaller, would pick up an egg and say, put the egg in, and Norma would say, put the egg in, put the egg in. So I bust the egg, and you break it strategically, yes, you break it, and she right, and then, eggshell everywhere, it's pick the eggshell out, okay, and then she'd come over with a list of things as Norma is mixing it, She'd say, can I put this in? No, that's Lego. We can't put that in. No, okay. And she runs back. Can I put this in? That's a Barbie head. No, we can't. That would look really possessed if we took that out of an oven, a charred Barbie head. No, we can't put that in. And then she say, how about raisins? Okay, put in raisins. Put in the raisins, and you have the cherries then cut in half, with the cherry and all great. And at any point during this process, if you were to stop and look at the kitchen, you would say, this is a disaster. This is just an absolute chaos. There's just stuff everywhere, and spoons and toys and bits of buns, and it would be absolute craziness. Until, of course, the oven is finally opened and the buns are taken out, and voila, that beautiful aroma hits the back of your nasal passage, and you go, man, that smells good. And you have fresh buns, a little bit of butter on it melts and seeps into them, and it's just wholesome goodness. At any point, though, as I say, at any point during this, if you stop the process, what you see is a mess, and you see nothing. If you stop after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it's just chaos. It's only when the thing is complete does it make sense. Right? Sister Clare's motto was all or nothing. All or nothing. You can't. For her, there was no point stopping halfway, because halfway gets you nothing. And you see this as well. Often people in the month of January who are taken over by guilt for how they've eaten over December and Christmas, and that they say, I'm joining the gym, that's it, I'm going to run 10k a day, I'm going to bench my own weight, I'm going to get my step counter thing in my watch up to, what's normal, 17,000, 20,000, is that good? Whatever. Huh? 10,000, which would be great. All those kind of things, I'll do all these kind of things. And then, mid-January, all them resolutions have failed, or I've gone to the gym once a month. Going to the gym once a month, you might as well not go at all. It's effectively nothing, because you don't change anything going to a gym once a month. You have to be all or nothing if you want to see any difference. And this requires something which we may not like, which is self-sacrifice, discipline. That when I'd rather sleep, I'll get up and go to the gym. When I'd rather sleep, I'll get up and pray. For Sister Clare, her relationship with Jesus, for her, required everything or just don't bother. All or nothing. All or nothing. And it's an incredible attitude to have, because it's demanding. It's a demanding attitude. Chantal there earlier read some of the conversion story that she had, but I wanted to focus tonight on another quotation from Sister Clare, something that she wrote to the founder of her community, Father Raffaele. She said, coming back from the first rosary at dawn, we had adoration. And I read a sentence that helps me every day when I get up. The sentence was, ad maiora natus sum, which literally means, I was born for greater things. So ad maiora natus sum. It's a sentence that they used to use in the ancient world, when they wanted to reject what they thought was mediocre or vulgar or evil. I was born for greater things. Why has this helped me so much? Because in prayer I understood that I have to turn everything I do, especially getting up at 5 o'clock, people, especially getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, into a sacrifice of praise. I have to elevate that action that is so hard for me to do into something great. God asks this sacrifice of me because he will do something great with it. Even getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I mean, if you got up at 5:30 or 6, it's still early by Irish standards. Why is getting up at 5 so important? Why can't we just push it to, all or nothing? That's why. Either I give everything to the Lord or I'm going home. All or nothing. And what an effect it had on her then was that she was entirely selfless. And in order to be, like Our Lady, full of grace, we can't be at the same time full of ourselves. The more we are selfless, the more we are emptied of all of our desire to satisfy our ego, the more then we can be filled with God. That's why when you see Sister Clare's picture, like it's a radiant joy out of her. Thank God I have had the grace as well to know in my own community some sisters who I would believe are very, very, very close to the Lord indeed. And they have the same kind of radiance because they're not full of themselves. They're full of God. I read something else which I thought was quite poignant as regards her life. So, where she was placed there in Playa Prieta in Ecuador, before the actual earthquake, there had been torrential rains that had caused terrible flooding. And with the floods, it doesn't just bring in lots of water, destructive and all as that is, but it leaves behind just this silty mud, sticks to everything, and it's just very heavy and very hard to clear. So there, on her video, which we might show to you at some stage, you can find it on YouTube, the story of her life. It shows them with sweeping brushes and planks and all sorts of stuff, trying to get this silty mud out of the school. So the school, they had just painted, you can imagine these sisters, just painting everything and cleaning everything and having everything nice and symmetrical and nice and ordered and all lovely. And then in comes the flood and mud and just wrecks everything. But one commentator or observer said, it's as if the Lord was actually preparing them for something. Preparing them to give what they had built up away. And to be ready to give all. If this was taken from you, how would you handle that? How would you get on with life? Well, we're preparing you for the fact that the school in 2 weeks' time will be leveled to the ground. And one of the priests from the Home of the Mother said that Sister Clare never spoke so eloquently as she did under tons of rubble, having given her life for God. All or nothing. All or nothing. It's such a wonderful example to each one of us here, because is this not how love works? I think instinctively we all know that if you were to be standing in front of an altar with your long-term boyfriend and he were to look into your eyes and say, I, John Joe, take you, Shatisha, to be my wife for 5 years, right? For 5 years. 5 years. That's a fair chunk of time. Because I don't think any bride is going to be impressed by that. Or even 10 years. 10 years. That's a good. Like a betting man these days would say, well, if a marriage can survive 10 years, that's good going. 10 years. But no bride is going to be impressed with a future husband saying, yeah, I'll be faithful to you for 10 years. It's all or nothing. We instinctively know love is all or nothing. If you say, I love you, I love you as long as you're pretty, or I love you as long as you're rich, or I love you as long as you're successful, or I love you as long as soon as you say and as long as anything, it's not love. Walk away, girl. Right. It's not love. because it can't be love. Because love is all or nothing. I love you for everything you are. Knowing that certain aspects of you are going to change. Yes, okay, but I love you anyway, because I love you. So like to understand, like, love is all or nothing. And that's why this resonated with Sister Clare's heart. And then one step further, Jesus, so God who is love, he loves with the attitude of all or nothing. Like, he doesn't kind of half love people. Kind of, yeah, I love you, I don't really love you, I don't know about you, I don't even know you. How would you get here? Like, like, he loves everyone eternally and perfectly for all time before they even existed. And, like, because he is love. So he loves perfectly. On the cross then, Jesus shows how far his love is willing to go. I mean, to die a martyr, there could have been quicker ways of doing it. A simple lopping off of the head would have done the trick. He'd have been fairly dead after it. But he decides to go much, much, much further. Even further than a standard crucifixion. Like, flogging wasn't part of a standard crucifixion. Neither was a crown of thorns. So it goes further than any mere human being could have. And then when his heart is pierced, there is no blood left. From his heart flows blood and water. He's empty. Empty. He has given everything. Because such is love. All or nothing. So what we learn from Sister Clare is the why behind this expression, all or nothing. It's not all or nothing because we have to, or all or nothing because we're afraid of burning, or all or nothing because God will be mad at us if we don't. It's all or nothing because we love. And if we can't say all or nothing, it's because our love isn't great enough yet. In our own community, whenever we do fasting, and people would say, Ginny, this fasting is difficult. Bread and water, 2 days a week. It's tough going. Our founder, Father Paul, would often say, you can pray for the grace to fast, but pray firstly for the love. If you love the Lord above all things, then you will be able to do anything for him. All or nothing. If there's a sacrifice you can't make, what you lack isn't so much the ability to make that sacrifice. What you lack is love. Because if you love, you're willing to sacrifice anything. So this is the great lesson of Sister Clare. Learning to love until it hurts. And then the Lord calls her to himself at 33 years of age. So still very, very young. But having given one of the most beautiful teachings that she could from under a collapsed school. Curiously, just before the building had the earthquake itself, some of the girls who survived related the conversation that they had had with Sister Clare that same day. And they had spoken about death. Right? Very providential, if you will. So they've been talking about death, and they asked, well, would you be afraid? Would you be afraid of dying? Would you be afraid to leave things? Would you be afraid to leave your family? Would you be afraid of what lies after this, And Sister Clare answered, why should I be afraid of death if I'm going to the one I have longed to be with my whole life? Why should I be afraid if I'm going to the one I have longed to be with my whole life? They're the words of a saint. So wherever you are today, wherever you're watching us from, whatever age you are, whatever your story is, wherever you've come from, whatever joys and crosses and whatever aspirations you have for your future, whatever fears you have, how is your relationship with Jesus? How is it really? Like, believing he exists is way short of the mark. All or nothing. Do we pray? Do we make sacrifices out of love for him? Do I renounce me in favor of everyone else? How much time do I waste? How much time could I give the Lord if I really, really wanted to? What are the obstacles in my life from me giving everything? And that doesn't mean I have to be a priest or a sister. You can be, I know wonderful moms and dads at home who change nappies and cook meals and clean the house and work and do whatever, but they do so for love of the Lord. They do so because they love Jesus. So what can I do today to imitate the wonderful example that we get in Sister Clare? How can I live this attitude of all or nothing? And if we can just find one thing, at times trying to take on the whole world and trying to take on everything that needs to be done, everything that's wrong with us all in one go is too much. How would you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. If you had to, which I presume won't happen to us, but how do you eat it? It's a common expression. I don't know. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you overcome any task? One bit at a time. So today, what step do you want to make to put the Lord in the first place in your life? What step do you want to make towards this attitude of all or nothing? We ask Sister Clare in heaven to pray for each one of us here and help us to take that step closer to becoming the saints he's calling us to be. Amen.